Did you have your interview yet with
Real estate?
realtors?
Yes. Yeah, you had yours today, right?
Yeah, it was pretty easy.
And here, and here's the deal. I have no idea if they're going to give us any money at all, but the way this happened was they had invited me to speak at their monthly meeting. And it went really well and hung out for a while, and so we were like all friends. And Patty Phillips is a very good friend. And so I think we're gonna do okay. Let's just leave it at that. So that
Okay.
how you holding up?
Fine. Yeah. Can't complain.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a very good phone.
Me too. That is my
Everybody
sense.
everybody I talk to. Good evening. Good evening. This is the Village Council regular public meeting. The date is October 9th, 2024. The time is 7:33. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Perrin.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds has not yet arrived. Councilmember Whites.
Here.
Councilmember Winograd.
Here.
And Mayor Rajanos.
Here, will you all please join us in a salute to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move on, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a couple things happening. First, our brothers and sisters in Florida are suffering mightily. The Hurricane Helene was devastating to that whole region, and as we speak, Hurricane Milton is coming in, and they say it's going to be even worse. We're going to have 2 moments of silence tonight because each deserves it, so please bow your heads and pray with me for these people. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have a very difficult anniversary of October 7th. Who can believe it's been an entire terrible year? Not unlike what happened on 9/11 and December 7th, 1941, October 7th will be a day that lives in infamy for all time. Since that time, to make matters even worse, tens of thousands of innocent people have been killed, and the violence threatens to spread completely out of control. Let us all bow our heads in a moment of silence and pray that our leaders can find a path to peace. Please join me. Thank you all so much. And now, let's move on with our agenda. I move that the bills, claims, and vouchers and statements of funds on hand as of September 30th, 2024 be accepted as submitted.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds is not here, Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes. And council members, let's all gather in the well because we have several important things to attend to there. Will Inez family please come up and join us right over here, right over here. And the Access Committee. Right, you don't have to go far away.
So I'm going to read a proclamation, but I wanted to say, before we begin, we're going to do a proclamation to honor Inez, but the whole entire committee has sort of struggled with how to honor her. Inez was our chair for many years, and we are still chairless. We have not appointed anybody because we wanted to make sure that this week was dedicated to her and all her activism. And about 2 months ago, we started doing a lot of work, some with the first responders, and we felt the best way to do this was make it bigger and better and make your mom proud in heaven. So this year, Access will not just be a weekend, it will be a week with a myriad of things to go to and experience. I want to say thank you to all our first responders who are part of that, the library and the committee. I feel very lucky to be the chair, the liaison with the chair, and I feel very lucky to have known your mom, and your wife, and this is from everybody on the council feels the same way. So the proclamation is, whereas Inez Bunza was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and received a Bachelor's of Science degree in Political Science and Sociology from Fordham University in 1980, at which time she worked in banking and later as a teacher in the New York public school system. And whereas in February 1996, Inez and her husband Gregory moved from Brooklyn to New York with their 4 children in search of educational services for their youngest son, Douglas, who was born with microphthalmia and developmentally disabled. Whereas it was at this time Inez was prompted to volunteer in various capacities, both for the special needs community and for the Village of Ridgewood community at large, with her personal brand of professionalism and sense of humor woven through her volunteer work. Whereas Inez served in multiple roles for Ridgewood Public School District, including the president of Learning Services Home and School Association for 10 years and treasurer for numerous home and school associations, as well as Ridgewood Public Education Foundation. Whereas Inez was also an active member of numerous committees serving the village community at large, including treasurer for the Ridgewood Historical Society and a member of both the Village Zoning Board of Adjustments and Patient and Family Care Advocate Group at Valley Hospital. Whereas more recently, her role as co-chair and treasurer of Ridgewood's Community Access Network Committee, also known affectionately as Access, which provides programming and embraces that embraces all abilities, disabilities, special needs, and talents will leave a legacy for years to come for Ridgewood's special needs community. And whereas Inez was a tireless advocate for Ridgewood families with children with special needs, including being very involved with the development of special needs housing in the village of Ridgewood. She always listened to the families with the utmost compassion, providing guidance and wisdom to help comfort them during their transition to the Ridgewood Public School District and assisting them in accessing the program and services they needed, wanted, and truly deserved. Whereas this year the Village of Ridgewood will, for the first time, celebrate an entire Special Needs Week for the entire week of October 15th to the 20th, known now as Access Week, during which a variety of activities will include Access Talent Show and Fashion Show, American Sign Language story time, family dining at the Steel Wheel Tavern, and other various events will take place. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim October 5th through the 20th, 2024 as Access Week 2024 in the Village of Ridgewood and dedicates the week in the memory of Inez Bunza. The Village Council also expresses profound gratitude and appreciation for all that Inez Bunza has done for our community and does hereby request that all Ridgewood residents join them in thanking the family of Inez Bunza for her many years of dedicated service to the Village of Ridgewood, as well as her hard work with the special needs community.
I should have not looked over at you. No, I just want to thank you all so incredibly much for your kindness and allowing my mom, your wife, to truly shine in this village. She really just loved the community, loved every single person, and just with her time on Access, it really gave her such a form of helping people and truly just letting her personality shine and lift up others. So thank you all for honoring her, and for the Access Committee. I truly cannot thank you all enough for just being so kind to my mom and my family, and for always being there for her. She not only with the committee, but she just absolutely had so much love for you all. So thank you all so much. Should have not. Thank you all so much.
We were all in this community so fortunate to have Inez with us, and her mark is indelible. She did so much for all of us, and she provided a light and an example that we all need to follow and walk in her footsteps. So thank you so much. We are so sorry for your loss. I know everyone on the Access Committee is feeling this really hard, and it's almost hard to believe that she's gone. So thank you all so much. We have a lot of good stuff tonight. And now I want to take a moment and call up Ryan Shintani, Kanit Syed, Jake Chudy, Gwen Hauk, Deanna Shablik, and anyone else who is part of that entourage. So come on up. These are young men who have been part of the Ridgewood Civic Youth Corps and they are being presented with an award for volunteer service and service to our village, and we are so proud to have them here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gwen and Deanna.
Thanks for having us, and this is a perfect forum for us to give our appreciation to these amazingly motivated youth in our community who demonstrated such leadership skills and such generosity with their time. This is their family here, and these are only 3 of 24 kids in our organization this year who have joined the Civic Youth Corps of Ridgewood, which is an organization that is designed to teach leadership through volunteering. And so we started 9 years ago, and here we are today. We've quadrupled in size. Deanna Shavlik is the group's advisor because it started out as a Ridgewood High School lunch program that was an alternative to meeting at the high school. We wanted to get kids involved in municipal government and in nonprofits and other activities so that they were more municipally oriented, local government oriented. And but because we meet here at Village Hall, we had to have a village sponsor and Aegis. And so Deanna has been the advisor, and we're a team together. Yes, we are. So I'll pass this on to Deanna.
So back in about 2 years ago, one of the Civic Youth Corps members asked us to join the President Volunteer Award group. And we were like, what is that? So Gwen looked into it, did many days of research, filled out the application, and we were awarded this to be part of a certified organization for this particular award. I don't know, I'm going to read it from my phone because I just don't want to mess it up. But back in 2003, the President's Council, hold this 1 second. There we go. In 2003, the President's Council on Service and Civic Participation founded the President's Volunteer Service Award to recognize the important role of volunteers in America's strength and national identity. This award honors individuals whose service positively impacts communities in every corner of the nation and inspires those around them to take action too. The Presidential Volunteer Service Award has continued under each administration, honoring the volunteers who are using their time and talents to solve some of the toughest challenges facing our nation today. Led by AmeriCorps and managed in partnership with Points of Light, this program also certifying organizations to recognize their most exceptional volunteers, which we are going to do right now. I'm going to give the mayor the honor of placing the medals around each of their necks. Do you want to do the names and the... So first we have Jake Chudy. He has earned the Bronze Award. As for 58 hours of service over the last 12 months. You could take that with me. We'll take it later. Kanit Syed. He also earned the Bronze Award for 51 hours of service over the last 12 months. And last but not least, our president, for the last 2 years actually, Ryan Shintani, he has earned 140 hours of service last year alone, and it is the Gold Award for his volunteering hours. So as their advisor, I really am so proud of them. I'm proud of all our Civic Youth Corps members. Since 2015, we've had many students come through, and they've done so many different parts of things for the village. Did you want to read off any of those at all, what they've done? Briefly?
Yeah, so we support all kinds of civic opportunities in town. So The kids have been involved in things, actually assisting the police department. They've assisted the health department. They've assisted Earth Day Fair, the Elder Dinner every autumn. They've worked intergenerational, particularly we're really trying to bring all ages together in Ridgewood. They've worked with Art Beat, Middle School STEM Challenge, the Ridgewood High School Quiz Bowl, Mayor and Council meet and greets. Downtown for the holidays, they were ambassadors for the village during COVID. They stood on street corners and directed residents to where they could get things because the pedestrian walkway was new. So they've really thought of all kinds of innovative ways to assist various nonprofits or governmental departments. So if anybody ever wants any help with any of your activities, you know who to call. And please do, because they always say yes. They give all their free time, and I'm really proud of them. And I want to also thank Ryan's brother, Brandon, because without him, we wouldn't be here today. He poked and prodded me until we did register with the Presidential Service Award, which is a difficult thing to do. Not many organizations are registered to receive the President's Award for volunteering. So that's all. Thank you very much.
I just want to say, on behalf of this council, that you give me hope that this world will be left in very capable hands. When you volunteer at this stage, I want to see you in 10 years and see what you're doing, because I know you're going to make us all proud. Thank you all so much. And don't go anyplace yet, because we have more good stuff. I want to call up Police Officer Travis Canning. Travis, do you have someone here to hold the Bible for you? Do you have someone here to hold the Bible for you? That would be great. Come on. Then you're over here. And what is your name? Hi, Claudia. This is you. Okay, and you're going to stand. Hold on. Okay. One hand on the Bible. Travis is part of a trio of police officers that have been brought on to work in our schools. And they will be working mostly in the middle schools and the high schools. And it's not just to protect the students, but it's also to foster good relations with police officers and young people so that they get to know police officers as not just someone who they get into trouble with, and which was my experience. So, you know, we think that this is a wonderful program. We're working with the Board of Education on this, and we hope that it continues and expands. So, ready? Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Travis Canning,
I, Travis Canning,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform all of the duties
and justly perform all of the duties
of the Office of Special Law Enforcement Officer 3
of the Office of Special Law Enforcement Officer 3,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God. Congratulations. Thank you. We're so happy to have you on board. Wait, you got to sign. Here you go. Congratulations. Yeah. And my pleasure. Good. Cool. Thanks, pal. Say hello to everybody. And now we're going to call up Kristen Hughes. Kristen, do you have someone here? Bring him up. Let's go. You can bring your whole family up for this. Let's go, everybody up. Come on, it's a good day. It's a good day. Here you go. You hold that. What's your name? Fiona. Love that name. Good. Everybody ready? Good. Let's go. Raise your right hand. Whoops. Better like that. I, Kristen Hughes, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all of the duties
of the Office of Special Law Enforcement Officer 3,
of the Office of Special Law Enforcement Officer 3,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. You did a great job. Congratulations, everyone. Congratulations. Here, let's do the paperwork. There we go. Right there. And rounding out the top three, Anthony Lucido, come on up. Who's got it? Here you go. Yep. Good. Are we ready? Let's go. I, Anthony Lucido,
I, Anthony Lucido,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all of the duties
of the Office of Special Law Enforcement Officer 3,
of the Office of Special Law Enforcement Officer 3,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Nice to have you on board. So nice. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Congratulations. Wait. Don't go. Got a sign? And that was the fun stuff for tonight. We were having a good night. By the way, it's always my favorite when we're swearing in police officers, firefighters, when the team in blue shows up for support. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything so much.
We're so excited. Did you see her? So excited.
Where'd everybody go?
I know, look at
All right, and now let's move on. We'll go to comments from the public. Oh, I don't see it.
Each person is limited to 3 minutes.
Excuse me one second. Dylan, I don't have hybrid access up here. And we have a little time, but I want to get that straightened out. Forgive me for just a moment.
And I also want to mention that you do not have to state your address. If you would just please let us know if you're a Ridgewood resident.
Thank you very much. Oh, good catch. Forgive me. Please begin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Michael No. I've been a Ridgewood resident since 1982. I'm here tonight to offer my suggestion on how to solve the field shortage problem. I have two different solutions, but I can tell you right now that no one is going to like option number 2, so I'll focus on option number 1. As the council has previously discussed, they've been looking for other properties to consider purchasing to expand the fields. I'm not sure how many other properties similar to Habernacle, which could be used for fields, will become available in the near future for Ridgewood. The solution for option number 1 is to think outside the box. As an example, an empty property has been sitting for quite a while on the border of Hohokus. It was the old Village Ford property. You're probably thinking it's being developed by someone, and who wants kids playing right next to a busy road? But if you think outside the box, you could put up a large Superdome-sized building like they have in Waldwick, and everything would be inside. If you haven't been to the Superdome in Waldwick, I suggest you stop in to see their operation. It's quite impressive. It runs every single day. It's not dependent on the weather, with very young kids playing t-ball, up to high school kids practicing football, and every age group in between. They have nets that divide up the area to keep each activity separate and safe. If the Village Ford property isn't available, I'm sure there are many other commercial-type properties that could be considered, such as vacant stores or warehouses. If you follow the example of Ridgewood Country Club, you have to look at commercial properties in surrounding towns. You're probably thinking that this is a great idea, but a project of that size might cost millions of dollars, which is probably true. But how much did we spend on Habernacle, and how much did we spend so far on Shedler? I think if you can get the younger kids inside in this type of building, this will open up many of the fields for the older kids who need the extra playing space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go.
Kathy No. I am a longtime resident. I grew up here and was lucky enough to come back after marrying, convinced him to move to Ridgewood. And I lived down near Hawes, and when I saw that the field was being discussed, I like transparency. And I feel that things that go on in town, like what happened over at Shedler, if you talk to the people in the different areas of where they live, they know their neighborhoods the best. They know what streets flood, they know what problems there are, if a culvert needs to be cleaned, that kind of thing. And I met with Nancy Bigos and our village manager, and they were very kind to spend some time with me and inform me. But I would like more information going out to other neighbors, which the village manager said he will send a letter out about the Hawes Field, but it's after the fact of the vote. So if anyone had something to really say, because a lot of people don't pay attention to things, I would like them to have the opportunity. Our neighborhood has water issues. The field does flood. I have pictures which I've shared with Nancy Bigos and Mr. Kazmark. Someone even had a kayak out in the water. And I know that that is part of the project of being addressed, and I do appreciate that, because what happens is the water travels towards the homes that are there. Years ago, the field, when I moved in, it used to be trees back in the day, before the school was built, before Hawes School, the lower part of the field. The upper part was a dump for the town, just like over at Orchard. So who knows what was dumped there. I know when the additions were put on the school, it was a concern for what was in the ground, and it had to be dealt with. Has that traveled down to the lower field? I don't know. Once the field was cleared of the trees, it was in the shape of a bowl, so that water collected. Then when the sports grew, maroons, that kind of thing, they needed more fields. They crowned the field, which meant the field wasn't flat, it was raised in the center, and the water would go off to the side, so the field would be drier after a storm, which then again puts the water closer to the homes. With the way the weather has been changing, as we know, there are literally, even with a normal rain, water coming down from the school area. And it just comes very fast. I had pictures. I meant to bring them tonight to show you, and I'm sorry I forgot them. Mr. Kazmark has copies of the pictures. And I had said to him that, you know, that needs to be dealt with. We're spending almost $100,000 that I'm aware of to put grass in and to level the field and to fix it. And it does need, my kids played sports. We want the kids to be safe when they're on our fields. And that is important. But I think the problem of the water needs to be dealt with. And I know you have a company coming in to survey and that kind of thing. And Mr. Kazmark mentioned planting more trees to absorb some of the water up near the school, which is still town property, and down along by the field, and that kind of thing. But the transparency, I know people over in the Shedler area because their kids went to school at Hawes. And, you know, I think if we had listened more, maybe we wouldn't have had some of the problems we've had. And I just want everyone in town to be aware. And as I said, each neighborhood knows their problems. I know what happens in our neighborhood. The water, it's not just what comes down, it's what comes up.
Kathy, if you could finish up. Thank you.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
beyond your time, and that's fine.
Okay, just the water percolates up. People get it in their basements, and that kind of thing. And when we've had the hurricanes and things, it was just horrendous, all the things that people had to put out on the curb. So I just would like you to consider that. And I know the company that is signed, I believe it's also a turf company. And I would hope that the explanation of what is going to be done down at Hawes is mentioned tonight clearly, so that the public knows what's intended for there. And that's it. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciated speaking with Mr. Kazmark and with Nancy Bigos. I kind of dropped in on her one day.
All good. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, we will go to our hybrid access. Scott, you're up. You're still on mute, Scott. All set.
Can you hear me?
Yep, all good.
All right, I'm Scott Muller. I'm a longtime resident in Ridgewood, and I want to congratulate the council on upgrading and doing everything you can to make the kids safe on these fields, which includes fixing Lower Hawes. We know that there's runoff problems. We know that there are seating issues, but the field is a mess, and kids do not need to get hurt on our village fields. So I applaud you guys for taking action, and also taking action up at Tabernacle with the cover and the restrooms that are going to go in up there. It's going to be a prime spot for people in both athletics and also passing. So just kudos to you guys for trying to upgrade these fields and make our kids safe. And that's it. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Scott. Next up, Pete. There you go.
Good
You're all
evening.
set.
Great, thank you. I also wanted to call in and.
Pete, if
commend
you
the
could
board.
state your full name, please, and whether or not you are a Ridgewood resident.
Of course. My name is Pete Gutierrez. I've been a Ridgewood resident for 10 years or so. It's not easy to take decisive action. It's not easy to, with something as political as the fields in Ridgewood, and as a longtime observer of the politics that goes on, it's a minefield. But I wanted to thank the board and commend the board for taking decisive action on Hawes Field, in reading some articles online and in talking to members of the town government. It's clear that we're headed down the right path, and we're headed down the right path at a time when it's not easy. It's not easy to make decisions quickly, but we're super excited that the kids are able to use Hawes Field soon, I hope, and that hopefully the residents surrounding the field are happy, and that the town can begin to ameliorate some of the pressure that's being placed on all of the fields from just a burgeoning, sports teams. So thank you for all your hard work, and look forward to watching the kids play sports out there someday soon.
Thank you, Pete. Moving on. Susan, you're up.
Hello, Susan Ruan. I'm a Ridgewood resident. I just have two topics, and one is the Kingsbridge Lane footbridge. I believe it's on the agenda tonight. I was hoping that, I know I emailed Keith, but I'm hoping that the village engineer might be there to explain what exactly is the restoration process, just so we have an idea and when it might be occurring. I just don't want the thing to disappear and not come back. The bridge, I should say. And the second is, due to the global warming issues and stuff, I'm following up in regard to the Army Corps of Engineers.
Susan, I'm sorry. If you could hold the phone closer, I didn't hear that last part.
Hold on. Hi, I took you off Bluetooth. I'm also following up in regard to the Army Corps of Engineers, especially what's happening in Florida. Global warming is real, and it's just a matter of time before this area gets hit. These 100-year storms are not coming every 100 years. I mean, they just got 200-year storms in 2 weeks in Florida. So, I was just trying to follow up to see what's happening with that. And that was pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan. Christina, you're up next.
Hi, Christina Million, Ridgewood resident. I have a question not pertaining to Shedler for the first time, but at the September 25th meeting, the Ridgewood Guild presented some findings by working with a startup named Placer.ai. And I just wanted to ask more questions since it does involve keeping kids safe both in town and online. So the presentation mentioned tracking people, which was their words, who visited Memorial Park and stayed for more than 2 minutes from July 2023 until June 2024. So a year's worth of data was collected, and I'm probably missing it, so help me. But how was this company that's based in Israel and has headquarters in the Valley, like vetted for security and privacy and compliance with what they were doing? And, this year's worth of data collected, was there any signs notifying people in the area that they were being quote unquote tracked? I visited that area multiple times with my kids, and I don't recall signage, but I certainly could have missed it. And then the second slide stated that residents or visitors to Ridgewood were being tracked before and after the event, including if people traveled to work or home. And so how is that data collected? And how does this company know what home is for people or what work is based on that data? And I guess I'm just also wondering, like, how were we told about this? And then how were we offered an opt-out? And then what data was collected? How long is it retained for? Who has access to that data now? And I guess more importantly, and most importantly, because we're all talking about the safety of children, how was the data of minors handled? So I guess I just have a lot of questions from that presentation, and I'm sure, like, you know, checks were made and like everything's, you know, stringently reviewed here, but I've actually walked away with like way more questions from that presentation than not. So I just would appreciate people answering security and compliance, or answering my security and compliance questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment and give the dais an opportunity to respond to anything.
Just one minute. I want to just note that Councilmember Reynolds has arrived at the meeting.
Thank you. Keith, would you like to begin?
Sure, Mayor. With regard to Susan, I'm going to talk about Hawes during the manager's report. With regard to Susan, we are, if the contract is awarded tonight, which I anticipate the council will take action to award, we will, in short order, be setting up a pre-construction meeting with the company, the construction company, who will be removing the bridge, repairing the bridge, and then returning the bridge. Once we have that pre-construction meeting and we know exactly what the time frame is going to be and what the scope of work is going to be, we will better be able to explain it to the public. So we will have Chris Rudishauser at a meeting to report out to the council exactly what that project is going to look like once we have the pre-construction meeting after the contract is awarded. With regard to the Army Corps of Engineers, we are actually setting up a meeting. It should be in the next 2 weeks. We're waiting to hear how Congress awards what's called Werner funds, which is the Water Act. Depending on how much they appropriate, allows them to do various scopes of work, both on the midterm solutions and the long-term solutions. So we have a meeting set up with Steve and Jennifer, who have been our points of contact from the Army Corps, and Beth was trying to set up and arrange that meeting as of yesterday, so I anticipate in the next 2 weeks we'll have better information as to where that stands. With regard to Christina and Placer, while we have met with Placer and actually seen a presentation by them, we were not involved in that original census, for lack of a better term, that the Guild undertook. So I would recommend that if there are questions, that they be directed to Placer AI. You know, we were not involved in that initial census count that was conducted during one of their events.
Good. Thank you, Keith. Anybody else?
A couple things in response. So with respect to the open space and looking at parcels of land, you can write us after. We do have a document called the ROSI, which is Ridgewood Open Space Inventory, right? Ridgewood Open Space and Recreation Inventory. And it lists all the properties that could be potential acquisitions for additional open space. And open space is not interchangeable with fields. Some open space becomes field, some of it's just open space. So the property that you mentioned, I believe, is on the ROSI because it's privately held. And if you want to write us tomorrow, we can send you that list because it's very interesting for residents to see what's on the ROSI. And Pam heads up open space with that. So
Village Ford is not on the ROSI.
It's not on it. Okay, because it's so we have a list. I can send it to you, and you can look how all this property is earmarked. In addition to that, I did want to just loosely touch on Hawes. So last year when I took my seat, we at the Fields Committee calculated which fields had the most complaints. And so the village field that had the most complaints was Hawes. We had complaints from within our own sports community, and then we had teams showing up saying they were refusing to play on it. And it became an issue with Northern Counties for soccer. In addition to that, we had baseball donate $65,000, but I believe like 12.5 was allocated to that lower part for the baseball part of it. We waited for the school to get on board with their new superintendent, Keith, to get in place, and we took a field trip. We took it with our Fields Committee. It was discussed there, our Parks Committee, and it was in a lot of in need of a lot of attention, and there was highlighted injuries from all the sports groups. So this came on to discussion probably about a year ago in all the committees that I just mentioned. You know, we reviewed it, and we found the money. We do have a fund where, you know, proceeds from recreational sports go to benefit recreational sports, so it went in there. And the village field that we're moving forward with was this. We are only interested in improving the field. If you want to look over in the sunshine binder, you can see the detail of Resolution 24-329. I can send it to you as well. It talks about improving drainage, and the sod, it's only to improve all those issues. And I do feel for neighbors if they feel left out, and we're very sorry if that's the feeling. We do have a member from that area that's been part of this. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but one of our members of our committee has represented the lawns in the Hawes area very well. So I felt like, I'm new here, I felt like we had a good insight to that. But if you want to get a copy or see it, you can see it there. But the goal here is to improve the field, the drainage, remove some of those dead tree stumps, which have been a problem with animals, and only improve. So if you need any other information, you can write me. I can provide you anything, but it's only to improve all those things. And just when we talk offline, when is the kayak from? Do these pictures have dates? Okay. I would love to get these from you to send to the vendor so they can see the areas. That would be super helpful as they go out to do the work. So, and any questions, just email me tomorrow if you have them.
Anybody else? Then let's move on. Manager's report, Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to start tonight by welcoming Travis, Christian, and Anthony, our new Special Police Officers, Class 3, who are deployed throughout the district, but as the mayor indicated earlier, primarily to Ridgewood High School and the 2 middle schools. I will tell you that there has been a lot of interest in this program. I've been reached out to by a number of parents, as I know the superintendent of schools and the chief of police have been as well, talking about expanding this to the elementary schools. I can tell you that that is very much in the discussion phase moving into the next school year. Obviously, there are budgetary concerns on both sides. Not that you can put a price tag on school safety, you certainly cannot. But as we head towards the 2025 budget, that is something that we are going to be looking very closely at, and we'll be in further discussions with the Board of Education on that as well. I want to thank all village departments, especially our GIS division, our IT folks, and our OEM for their assistance in migrating all of the information that enabled us to add new contacts to our emergency reverse 911 system. Prior to the boil water advisory on September 21st, we had 5,500 contacts that were tied back to Ridgewood addresses in the system. Last week, we were able to add nearly 3,400 additional contacts tied to specific addresses in the village by culling data from departments across Ridgewood. Last Thursday, we sent out a reverse 911 call advising those new contacts that they have now been added to the system. And out of that 3,400 additional address contacts, only 64 have opted out as of this afternoon. This was a tremendous success, and we've extended an invitation for Glen Rock, Midland Park, and Wyckoff to share their information from across their respective municipalities so it can be added to the reverse 911 system that services Ridgewood Water. It should also be noted that today, the quarterly notice from Ridgewood Water was delivered to the Ridgewood Post Office. We anticipate that this mailing will start to hit mailboxes throughout the service area tomorrow. On the bottom left-hand corner, there is a QR code further encouraging folks who may not be signed up for our reverse 911 system, who are scheduled to receive emergency notifications, to do so if they would like. So this mailer will be going out system-wide to all 4 municipalities starting tomorrow. Tonight on the agenda, there are 2 emergency resolutions in response to the boil water emergency that occurred back on September 21st. They're resolutions 24-319 and 24-320. And at this time, I'd like to call Director Calby up to speak to those two resolutions, exactly what the scope of work entails, and field any questions from the council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Rich.
Thank you for allowing me the time tonight to give you a summary and entertain any questions. The two resolutions that Mr. Kazmark mentioned essentially seek approval for the emergency declaration that was made that weekend as a result of the boil water advisory and the low-pressure event that occurred throughout our system. The two separate resolutions, the first codifying the actual issue and putting aside $200,000 in the Ridgewood Water operating budget for short-term improvements.
You're talking about 24-319?
Correct. And the second one is 24-320, which awards the professional services that were associated with the emergency authorization to hire a hydraulic engineer who was employed that weekend and continues to perform an evaluation of the system. An update on all of that, as of today, the hydraulic engineer continues his evaluation. We expect to receive his full report by November 20th. But in the interim, he has already given us information relative to the short-term fix and has said that we can proceed with evaluating necessary means to install a temporary pump on West Glen Avenue to transfer water from one zone into the other to help with the situation that occurred. That has to all be finalized in his report, but in the interim, he's given us the go to start planning for that. That location will be just east of the railroad crossing on West Glen Avenue. It'll be within the county right-of-way in front of the Ridgewood Arts Building. To date, we've conferred with the village engineer to prepare a plan. We've contacted Bergen County and started conversations with them regarding necessary permits. I've spoken with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection relative to those permits as well, and we've begun necessary means of procuring the equipment and scheduling the work involved with installing piping in the road, which we'd like to get in before this winter, including calling in for a mark-out of the roadway. There was also an additional option that we did evaluate for the purchasing of water for the borough of Waldwick. We met with the borough of Waldwick. They provided us information. We evaluated that option, and based on the information provided in our evaluations, determined that that was not going to be feasible. So proceeding with the West Glen option, which I believe out of the two is the best because it's not in a location where the Waldwick one was, which was right in front of someone's front lawn, would require us putting a diesel generator on that front lawn. In this place, we could do something that, although it's temporary, is more permanent. It means because there's more space to do that. More details to come on that. We had another event occur yesterday. This was a much smaller area, 47 homes, 8 of which were in Ridgewood, 39 in Midland Park. Similar instance, but we are also able to lift that advisory today. It's a similar situation, low pressure, and I bring that up because, again, this situation is necessary, the cure is necessary, and we're making best attempts to get it in before next season of 2025.
I just want to add, these were added to the agenda tonight because the DEP is very interested in us pursuing these emergency situations and being able to put a temporary situation or a short-term situation in place that takes away this concern. So, that's why these two resolutions were added to the agenda tonight. And in light of the event of the last 24 hours, again, limited scope, and the DEP allowed us to only notify those 47 homes, which was done either by door-to-door contact or by reverse 911. There's an urgency to this, and that's why Rich is presenting these resolutions tonight.
Questions?
I have a couple. So is there any possibility of getting some money from the DEP or the state, or since this is like such an emergency? I mean, anything out there?
Haven't explored any possibility for funding. We're going to start the work soon. So if we were, I believe it'd have to be some type of retroactive type of grant if we were to do that.
Right, I mean, it can't hurt to look into it, that'd be great.
Yes.
Now, so when you're doing the work, will East Glen and Oak Street have to be closed? And if so, how long do you predict that?
So the only work that should affect the roadway is the installation of the piping. At that location, it is the break between the two zones, so we literally have to go in the road, connect to the pipe on both sides of the zone, and bring that out behind the sidewalk. So at that point, yes, we'd have to close that portion of Glen Avenue. I couldn't tell you how long that would take. I don't expect it for it to be more than a few days.
Okay.
And we would work during regular work hours, avoiding school hours, et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the houses that were affected last night, are any of them, is it the same, are they the same houses, but just less of them?
Same area, just less. What happened yesterday compared to where we were in September, by employing the hydraulic engineer, we were able to build a model, and that model is what we're able to utilize to talk with DEP and narrow down the affected area. We didn't have the privilege of having that information back in September.
Okay. Thanks, Rich, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just have one question. Did we let the Art Barn know about this?
But I have not contacted them yet. I'm waiting for the village engineers putting together a plan for me, because I want to make sure we could fit this within the right-of-way, because if we can't, and it requires us to go to the property owner for some temporary easements, I want to include that in discussion.
I'm not quite clear what the difference is between these two resolutions.
So the first one, 319, that's essentially identifying the emergency, summarizing what it is, in that we're seeking funding for the solution, up to $200,000, which is currently available in the water operating budget. The second one,
And that is both modeling and installation?
no, engineering, permitting, and installation, including procuring necessary equipment.
Okay.
The second one is for the approval of the hydraulic engineer, separate and apart from the $200,000.
320 is a professional services contract. 319 is for the physical construction work and the permitting that goes along with that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a couple questions.
All right.
So, first, have we been able to locate the pump that we need?
We have not finalized the size.
Okay.
So once
So-
that's done, we will seek out the pump.
When would you anticipate getting DEP and county approval? And I'm not holding you to that, because I know that those are all tenuous things.
I believe the county approval is going to move the fastest. We've already got confirmation from the county engineer that they don't believe we'll need anything from them, but we will need a road opening permit from the county. As far as the Department of Environmental Protection, I was on a call with them, and they are recommending, in lieu of getting a temporary permit, that we get a full permit, and that they will expedite the review. And the reason for that, the temporary permit only lasts 1 year. And they believe that it's in our best interest to get a permanent approval. That way, if we need this for more than 1 year, there's no need to go back. They've already committed that they will expedite it, and the reviewer that they're putting on the project is familiar with Ridgewood Water. They've done all the PFAS approvals.
Do we have a guesstimate as to when that might come through? And if you don't, that's fine.
I do not.
Got it.
There's a lot of different parts that we're trying to get together.
Do we hope that this might, and do we hope that this might happen before the end of the year?
No. Hope that'll get started before the end of the year.
Got it.
Our goal is to get the piping done in Glen Avenue before the winter.
Great.
As far as installing the pump and necessary equipment behind the sidewalk, our goal is to get that done before the spring of '25.
And you'll keep us updated.
I will.
Thank you so much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate this. And thanks for moving this so quickly.
Mayor, just 2 points that I want to make on this. One, we're obviously coming to the end of watering season. The pressure drop that we experienced yesterday morning was between 4 a.m. and 4:30 a.m., right in the heart of lawn irrigation.
Good point.
As we get to the end of October, early November, people are going to be participating in that
It becomes less of an issue.
Right. And the other point that should be made is we did an inventory of those 47 homes yesterday morning. None of them requested an exemption for lawn watering due to additional or new landscaping. So that's a good thing, because we don't have to consider any exemptions in the most challenging part of the system.
Right.
So, so in light of that, it buys us a little time, because lawn watering season is going to come to an end, and we're going to accelerate this, this project so that when we get back to lawn watering season in the spring, we're in a much better place than we are here tonight.
Right, and I'm going to gather that, that this is I think you used the word sensitive area, that if we have similar lawn watering issues in other parts of our service area, it is less likely, because we don't have to pump water uphill, that we will have a similar issue. Not going to happen, but it is a sensitive area for that. Is that
That's correct, and watering in other areas contribute, because it's taking away volume that could go to that area.
Right, but that's the area that is most likely to get hit.
Based on its elevation, yes.
Got it. Thank you so much, Rich.
Thank you
Appreciate
all.
your time.
I just have one more question on a
Sure,
totally, actually different subject, but it reminded me. I just want to ask, if you do have an exemption and you have underground sprinklers, you're still only allowed to water between that 3 and 7 a.m., or are you allowed to water other times?
Which exemption are we talking about?
If
Smart
you
controller?
If you plant new shrubbery and then you can water for like 21 days straight, is that the exemption?
For the new plantings, I believe it's after 6 p.m. and before 10 a.m.
Okay.
for the 21-day
So-
landscaping exemption.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
good to know. But, so even with that, in the last couple of days, I've seen 4 houses that are watering like 12 noon, 2 p.m. I don't think people know that we have a 365-day year, restriction.
And the fall and winter months are getting warmer, so people are continuing to water for a longer period of time. We did a mailer last year. We try to communicate. I know we have plans to do a lot more communication in '25, and we're evaluating the whole system in terms of what we've done with watering since 2017. And I plan to actually come here in '25 with an update on the smart controller program that we had done about a year ago as well.
It should also be noted that Rochelle, Midland Park and Wyckoff have both preliminarily indicated to us that they are going to allow Ridgewood Water to enforce on a more stringent basis moving
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
So, that being said, when we go into budget discussions and Rich does his staffing plan for 2025, to steal Councilmember Winograd's term, we may need a watering sheriff, just like we need a tree sheriff. But we may need someone specifically for those enforcement responsibilities, only because now we're not just doing Ridgewood and Glen Rock, but we'll be doing all 4 municipalities in the service area, if the 2 municipalities follow through in the way they've indicated that they will.
Yes.
So Keith, on the next e-news, can we just clarify
Absolutely.
the water rules?
I do think, too, to Lorraine's point, my neighbor's sprinkler system went haywire, and they weren't as good, they were away, and I had to go over and turn it off, which is a whole sidebar story. But I also think the message needs to be watering your yard at 2 o'clock is bad for your yard. So people who think they're getting, a little water during the day, it's actually more stressful for the plants. So Lorraine would probably have the best language for that, because you're really, or Pam, you're both really good in the yard. No offense to the others of us. But I think
None taken.
in the messaging needs to also be in the best interest of your yard. A 2 o'clock watering is actually a very bad thing.
So one of the things we're starting to do is engage Green Ridgewood
That'd be great.
to help with sustainability and messaging across this platform, because I believe, a lot of the goals line up,
Yeah.
and we could use them as a method to kind of get this message out.
All good?
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you,
Thank you
Rich.
Okay, just continuing with the manager's report, our Streets Division recently mailed out the 2024 leaf season flyer. Leaf season begins on October 14th. Please follow the schedule on the back of the flyer for each of the areas. Please note that Area B will no longer be divided. Residents should be further reminded that the dates listed are placement dates, and the collections will take place after the placement window has closed. So please be mindful of that when you read the dates on the back of the flyer. Very pleased to announce that the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation Board of Directors has awarded the Ridgewood Fire Department 4 Argus thermal imaging camera kits valued at $29,905. This is a grant that the Ridgewood Fire Department worked on with Millennium Strategies. I want to thank Chief Judge for aggressively pursuing grant funds to offset the operational costs of the fire department. He's had some successful grant opportunities this year. Speaking with Lori, our library director, we now have a schedule for generator connection to the generator that sits between Ridgewood Water and the public library. October 11th, they are scheduled to publish the bid. October 22nd, they'll be holding a site meeting with potential bidders. November 5th, bids will be due, and they plan to award the contract at the library board meeting on November 19th. This project is a joint venture between Ridgewood Water and the public library, and while it's lingered out there for a while, we're happy that this is finally going to be accomplished. Tonight, the council will consider the award of bid for the Hawes Field project. This was discussed at last week's work session, and I've had the opportunity to meet with Kathy. We had a productive meeting, and I hope that was informative to her. I want to stress that this is a resodding project. There are no lights or larger plans. This is not artificial turf. This is natural sod. We're also now planning to add some additional trees at Hawes once the project is complete, and I'm working with the engineering department to address some of the storm drains that we believe might be problematic in that area as well. Again, the funding for this project is coming from registrations, fees, and permitting through the Recreation Department and their trust fund, and will not have an impact on the operating budget or on any capital appropriations. I also, because there was an inquiry about this, I do have a soil certificate from the contractor who's being considered tonight for this bid, should anyone wish to approve it. All clean fill that the contractor will bring in from a certified location will be used to resod the field. My office will also be sending a letter, as Kathy indicated earlier, to the neighborhood outlining the scope of the project so that there is heightened public awareness in the neighborhood as to what's going to happen there. On the road resurfacing front, last week the village was able to pave Demerish Street, Claremont Road, Ferris Place, and Grant Street. And today we started to mill and pave Lynn Street and Albin Court. We expect both of those to be repaved by the weekend. And finally, I spoke to Bergen County this week. An ADA curb ramps should begin on Ackerman Avenue tomorrow, and they are scheduled to repave all of Ackerman by the end of the month. So we're looking forward to that as well. Just a few announcements. The YMCA will be hosting Oktoberfest on Sunday, October 13th on the west side from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be free parking at the Hudson Street Garage during that event. Village offices will be closed on Monday, October 14th in observance of Columbus Day. The recycling center will also be closed, and there will be no curbside bulk pickup refuse that week. The Ridgewood Guild will be holding a fall harvest marketplace on Saturday, October 19th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. The rain date for that event is October 20th. For the first time, or at least in recent history, we will be holding a formal trick-or-treat event here at Village Hall on Halloween. We encourage you to bring your little ghouls, ghosts, and goblins to Village Hall for a fun, safe, easy trick-or-treating experience. Again, it'll be on Halloween from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We'll have candy, costumes, and some not-so-spooky surprises. Stop by each department at Village Hall to pick out a sweet or non-food treat, and then head over to the library, Ridgewood Water, the stable, and the fire department, who will all be participating as well. And finally, upcoming village council meetings. October 23rd is a work session November 6th is a work session. November 13th is our next public meeting. All start at 7:30 PM. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. And council members' reports. Evan?
Great. Thanks so much. First and foremost, let's go Mets.
Did they win?
They won. I do want to, on a also happy note, to the Jewish community here in Ridgewood, wish you guys a happy new year, and obviously an easy fast on Friday as well. This past Saturday, I got to spend a couple hours at council chat, had some really lively discussions with a number of residents that showed up. Most importantly, though, I got to accompany my friend Lorraine on her last council chat, at least as a village council member. You're always welcome back as a citizen. But really, really good engagement with the residents. It was a really great time. Also want to congratulate the PBA on a really great food truck event. A huge number of people showing up on a beautiful day on Sunday. Really appreciate the PBA doing that. On Friday, I got to participate in a video that we're putting out advertising the Passport Center at the library. For those of you who don't know, I know we've talked about this in the past. If you need to renew a passport, get a passport, go to the library's website. My family and I used this service at a different library a couple of years ago. Makes life a lot easier. They help you with going to the State Department to get the paperwork in, getting your picture taken. Really, really wonderful service that I'm thrilled we're now offering to the village of Ridgewood. Last night, we had a very long Historical Preservation Committee meeting. A number of applications for us, which is great because it shows that it was mostly with our business district. A number of new businesses coming in, aware that they have to come to the Historical Preservation Committee. I'm really fortunate to sit alongside a number of really wonderful residents that volunteer for that community that make sure that we're business friendly, we're making sure that our businesses get the approvals they need, but at the same time making sure that we're protecting the character of the village and especially those historic districts that really are the hallmark of Ridgewood. So really appreciate those folks staying late last night. I think we had about a half a dozen applications, spent a lot of time with the applicants. Really, really well done. On a much more serious note, on Monday night, I got to represent the village at an October 7th memorial event held by the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. We had over 4,000 people showing up. Most of our local and federal leaders were there. I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude, as does my 4,000 fellow attendees, to the Tenafly Police Department, as well as all the local and federal law enforcement that were there. They did a remarkable job keeping people safe and at the same time making it welcoming. It was a very moving event. Again, I was privileged to attend on behalf of the village. I too join in Paul's wish for peace for everyone, Jew, Palestinian, Arab, Muslim alike, and hope that we don't have to have another event next year. For any of you who have an opportunity to go to one of these events or be a part of that movement, I would strongly encourage it, and to keep all people, regardless of religious or any other affiliation in mind, as we all deserve a peaceful life to live.
Thank you, Evan. Siobhan?
Sure. So I had several meetings. To begin with, the highlight of my week was I was invited with Evan, and we had to divide and conquer to go meet with the Boy Scout Troop 7, which is one of the oldest scout groups in Ridgewood. There were boys ranging from 6th to 9th grade because the troops have merged, and I gave a speech on good citizenship and voting, and they did not let me out of the hot seat. They had a lot of questions. They're looking for their Eagle Scouts. They're looking for projects to be sponsored, and I want to thank Heather because she provided pins, and they feel very invested in this, and they're wearing them on their Boy Scout uniforms. So thank you to Troop 7, and we look forward to hearing your future Eagle Scout adventures and plans. Last Tuesday, we had a Fields Committee meeting because our meetings are slightly out of order due to the holidays. It was a good meeting. Lots of discussions. Our master library plans with the new hire and parks are moving forward very well. It was interesting, the group that is heading up the feasibility assessment for the Board of Ed issued a letter. They memorialized the decision that BF is the location they'd like to look at next because of the persistent flooding. And it was discussed that the Board of Ed is having somewhat of an insurance issue, that their deductible has increased from $50,000 to $500,000 given the persistent flooding, which is certainly a shame. So in addition to that, it was discussed that on Sunday, there was the Fall Brawl at Ridgewood High School, sponsored by where Colgate Lacrosse and Princeton Lacrosse met, and it was an effort by a charity called Fall Brawl and the American Boy, which is the lacrosse community coming together to raise funds for drug addiction for families that need assistance. So it was a charity event with these two powerhouse teams. Our high school never looked better. It was great. A lot of people from outside the area went into town, and it was definitely a wonderful event. Princeton prevailed. It was 11 to 10 at the end. And I want to thank Ridgewood Lacrosse and the high school and everybody who put it together. And I want to thank the charity American Boy because they do such good work. Addiction is a serious problem, and they're doing their best to help families and help erase the stigma. And believe it or not, sports has a serious issue because athletes are at risk for overprescription more than any other group. So with the opioid crisis, that community was hit very hard, and there's a huge focus on that if they can get education at a younger age, when you have a sports-related injury, you'll be more prepared to self-advocate. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters because today we had their annual luncheon. I know several of us went. I won't belabor it. I do want to say thank you to the League. It was incredibly impressive. I want to thank Reverend Miller and Old Paramus Church. It was an awesome venue, and the topic this year was affordable housing. So it was very interesting to see the effects that COVID has had. They had a couple people had charts as to where we went with the income and how much higher our income is related to one person living in one home as opposed to 5 people. So I want to thank them. If anybody missed it, I'm sure the League will have a summary of it. And thank you, because now we have to call both the presidents of the League are known as the Anns. There's one Ann with an E and one Ann with no E. So thank you to them. And lastly, last night we had a shade tree meeting. It was a great meeting, and we got a lot done. And I want to remind everybody that October 19th is Adopt a Sapling. So if anyone is interested, we're pretty much captain secure. Now we're looking for workers to work for all these captains. We have 12 tree captains, and we're looking for anybody who wishes to be involved in executing the sapling plan. If you do want to attend, reach out to me. You need a shovel, gloves, and a hammer. And the hammer is to put the stakes in, so don't worry about that one. And I look forward, I want to thank everybody on the council, and Keith, and Matt's not here, who stepped up to be a tree captain, and we're looking very much forward to finding homes for these 90 saplings. That's it.
Thanks, Siobhan. Lorraine?
Thanks. Project Pride was this past Sunday. We planted all the fall plantings. I just want to say thank you to all the people that came out and volunteered. We honestly could not do this without our volunteers. Thank you, Pam, for coming.
It took all of 1 hour.
It was fast. It was really fast. I was very nervous the week before. I thought I had like no volunteers, and then all of a sudden everybody came up. So it was great. The volunteers really came out. Siobhan, I want to thank you for getting in touch with the high school group, and Travis, Alex, and Henry, and there were 3 girls that I don't, if you know their names.
No, I don't want to mess them up, because
Okay.
but they are a new group at the high school, and they're wonderful.
The 6 high school students that were there were fabulous, eager, anxious to help. They're going to help again on November 10th when we rip everything out and get it ready for the guild to decorate for Christmas. And a huge shout out to my 2 volunteers that never fail me, Jeanette and Cynthia. They show up every time for the last, I think, 4 years. And then a super special shout out to new volunteers. It was a mom. Her name was Brenda, and she brought her daughter, who I did not ask her age, but I would say older grammar school, younger middle school age, and her name is Evangeline, and she was just the most enthusiastic worker and is coming back on November 10th, and I'm so excited. So get out there and help and volunteer. I've got 2 questions for Keith, only because I'm sorry I missed the pre-meeting. I don't know if it was discussed, but before we vote, I just had 2 questions. So I see that on the calendar, we did go with the least expensive bid. Yes. Did we get information on that company? Have we gotten recommendations?
Carol and I did a meeting with them. They have some experience being accounted.
Okay.
don't think your mic's on.
Carol and I did a Zoom meeting with them. They have some limited experience doing the calendar, but we're going to see how it goes. But
All
yes, we're recommending that you award it to the low bidder tonight.
Okay, all right, and then the
Low
other
quote.
question is on the Kingsbridge Lane. I don't know if you ever tried to get back to me, it was a crazy week. Is it the same vendor that was the bid the last time, but didn't have their paperwork in a row?
I
ducks
don't
in a row?
believe so, but I'll confirm that.
Okay.
I did not admittedly follow up on that, but
Okay.
I will ask
All
Chris
right,
tomorrow.
thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Pam?
My committees did not meet, but I did have fun at the Project Pride, rip out the old and put in the new. But I also wanted to remind people that leave the leaves in your beds, that's in your shrubbery beds. It's good for the soil, it's good for your shrubs, and it replenishes the soil, especially if you've been blowing away the topsoil with leaf blowers. And tomorrow night, Green Ridgewood will be meeting downstairs in the senior lounge at 7:30. And on October 17th, the Central Business District Advisory Committee will also be meeting in person in the senior lounge at 8:30 in the morning. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Pam. And my committees did not meet, but I will tell you that I went to a very fun party from the Ridgewood Education Foundation on Saturday night, where the Dad's Night Band played. It was at the Women's Club. It was so much fun. Band was a little loud for me, or maybe I'm just getting too old, but it was a great party. It was a fundraiser, and kudos to the people who put it together. Thank you so much.
Oh, I forgot one thing.
Go right ahead.
On October 16th, the League of Women Voters is having the candidates forum here in this room at 7:30 at night, so you can see all 4 candidates and learn all about them.
And
Thank
it will
you.
be televised.
Yeah.
Yeah, a week from tonight.
And if I could just say one thing, on October 15th, from 4:30 to 9 p.m., there will be voter registration in the library lobby. That is the last night to register to vote for the general election. So as long as you come there before 9 o'clock p.m. on October 15th, you can register to vote and vote. The other thing I want to say is that up until that time, you can always come to the village clerk's office and register to vote as well.
Very important. Thank you, Heather. Come on, everybody vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for, just vote.
And Heather, does early voting begin 6 days before the 5th?
It's the Saturday before, what's the, I don't know.
26th, it's the 26th.
26th is when it starts, and then it goes to the following Sunday.
And that's at Bergen Community College? Is that
It's
it?
Bergen Community College, there's a location in Wyckoff, I know there's one up at Tice's Mall in Montvale, Woodcliff Lake, actually, yeah, so.
Great.
I do just want to add from the league, if you have questions, there won't be a live mic. You can submit them, you can pre-submit them to the question committee and have them entered in that way. But there will be no live mic at the debate.
Thank you all. Let's move on with our regular agenda. So, I move the clerk read ordinance 4013 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
May I have a second?
Oh, second.
Perrin?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4013?
A bond ordinance providing for the construction of the Mountain PFAS treatment facility by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $3,300,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,300,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
The public hearing is now open.
I did want to let people know the Mountain PFAS treatment facility would be in Wyckoff.
Thank you. That was one of my questions. Boyd A. Loving, resident of Ridgewood. I'm curious to know what section of Wyckoff this is going to serve, Mr. Calby. And there's a method to my madness.
Always is.
So the section that the mountain facility serves, the Facility's located on Holly Drive in Wyckoff. I believe it's the high zone.
So that is, the section is up by where the Christian Healthcare Center is and the new facility they built up there. I forget what the name of it is.
The Vista?
The Vista, yes.
Vista.
Okay. My concern about this is that I believe at one time there was a proposal that Ridgewood Water had to build a 180-foot high water tank in that area, and we did not because the Township of Wyckoff indicated that they didn't want that facility, and we didn't do anything as a result. We just left everything as it was in place. Based upon what is going on now in Midland Park, I am concerned that we're going to spend $3 million on this PFAS, or is it 3 or 8 million, Rich?
This ordinance is
3.3.
3.3.
Okay, we're going to spend millions of dollars on this PFAS treatment facility, and we're going to come up very shortly after that and have the same problems with pressure that we do in Midland Park. So I'm wondering if now is the time, since we're doing this PFAS treatment facility there, that we also think about correcting the pressure problem that we've got up there that was the reason we wanted to put the 180-foot water tank up there. In other words, let's not spend millions and then have to go back and spend even more when we could have done this whole thing at once. So that's my comment and my concern about what's going on up in that neck of the woods, particularly since it seems as though the Vista has added many more residences in the area too. The population in that area has grown as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boyd. We'll hold the answers till the end. Let's see if there's anyone else.
Sure.
Anybody else have a comment or a question? Seeing none, I move the public hearing be closed.
May I have a second?
Oh, second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
I move
Rich?
that-
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to move it. No. All right. I move that ordinance.
No, no.
40
Oh,
Yeah, let him
I'm sorry.
finish.
I'm so
Do you
sorry.
want
Go
to
ahead.
finish, or-
Yeah, no, let's, yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted him to answer the question. So, Rich, go ahead.
So the Vista property is serviced by the Borough of Hawthorne. It's not serviced by Ridgewood Water. The tank project that Mr. Loving mentioned predates me. I agree with him. I wish it would have been built. From what I understand, there was a lot of opposition to the project. I don't know the entire history. But since then, we have been able to provide an alternate means of water to that zone through the connection with Veolia, whereby there's a means to open up a valve to enter water into that zone that tank would have served. The tank would have served a portion of Wyckoff that's known as the booster zone, not the intermediate zone that we had the pressure zone issue with in September.
And I just have a follow-up question to that. The two projects are really separate projects, are they not?
They are separate projects. The mountain facility that you have in front of you for funding is a result of administrative consent order with the New Jersey DEP. If it is not built, the village and Ridgewood are subject to daily fines.
So we're really not in a position to hold off on that pending what could be a very long process, if we chose to get a water tower built.
That's correct.
Got it. Thank you very much. Anybody else? No? Then let's move on. Evan?
I move that ordinance 4013 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 4014 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
I second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4014?
A bond ordinance providing for the construction of the main PFAS treatment facility by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $3,100,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,100,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
The public hearing is now open.
This one is in Glen Rock, the main treatment facility.
Seeing no one, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 4014 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 4015 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
I second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4015?
A bond ordinance providing for the construction of the East Side PFAS treatment facility in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $8 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $8 million bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
The public hearing is now open.
This facility would be the East Side facility in Ridgewood.
Seeing no one, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 4015 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
The following resolutions, number 24-318 through 24-323, will be adopted by consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Award contract, public policy consultant. Approve emergency declaration of emergency and authorize funding for purchases for short-term solution, low pressure and intermediate zone. Award professional services contract, professional engineering services for hydraulic modeling study of low pressure and intermediate zone. Authorized change order, professional services for PFAS treatment facilities, East Side, Main, and Mountain. Additional design and construction administration services. Authorized change order, professional services contract, PFAS treatment facilities, Ames, Cedar Hill, Prospect, and Mortendike, NJDEP requirements. Authorized refund of water account overpayment. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4018.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4018 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
I move that ordinance 4018 be adopted on first reading and that November 13th, 2024 be fixed as a date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4019.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4019 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145-6 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood entitled Enumeration of Fees Related to Code Chapters under Chapter 156-70F entitled Outdoor Cafe License Annual Fee per Number of Seats to amend the fees charged for outdoor cafes.
I move that ordinance 4019 be adopted on first reading and that November 13th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4020.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4020 by title?
An ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of and for the supervisory employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey.
I move that ordinance 4020 be adopted on the first reading and that November 13th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 4021.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4021 by title?
An ordinance to fix salaries, wages, and other compensation of non-union employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey for the year 2025.
I move that ordinance 4021 be adopted on first reading and that November 13th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 4022.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4022 by title?
An ordinance to amend the salaries, wages, and other compensation and to establish the employee agreement of certain non-union officers and employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey for the year 2025.
I move that ordinance 4022 be adopted on first reading and that November 13th, 2024 be fixed as the hearing for the date, be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes, I move the clerk read ordinance 4016 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4016?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 249 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood entitled Streets and Sidewalks at Section 249-24 entitled Duty of Owner at subsection B.
The public hearing is now open. Seeing no one, I move that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
I second.
I move that ordinance 4016 be adopted on the second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 4017 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4017?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 223 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood entitled Property Maintenance at Section 223-59 entitled Weeds.
The public hearing is now open. Seeing no one, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
I move that the ordinance 4017 be adopted on the second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
I'm going to vote in favor of this. However, I can see a date in the future when we might allow plants, not weeds, but plants, to grow above 10 inches because there is a movement for planting native plants rather than lawns, which are a monoculture and are unsustainable without herbicides, fertilizers, excessive watering. And so we may at some point decide that allowing plants that are over 10 inches is a better choice. But at this point, I will vote in favor.
Okay. Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
I'm going to vote yes, but I did just want to say thank you to everybody. This will help, both these last two ordinances, keep our tree wells more maintained, our downtown more beautiful. And I just want to say thank you to Matt, even though he's not here, for making it happen, and everyone. These two ordinances really will help with the cleanliness and the overall welfare of downtown. And of course, thank you to Pam and Lorraine, who helped me navigate 10-inch weeds versus 12. So yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
The following resolutions, number 24-324 through 24-343, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Title 59, approval, furnishing laboratory analysis services. Award contract furnishing laboratory analysis services, water pollution control facility, Lakeview compost facility, and Graden Pool. Title 59 approval, restoration of Kingsbridge Lane pedestrian bridge. Award contract, restoration of Kingsbridge Lane pedestrian bridge. Award contract, landscaping services, Crest Road. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, cooperative pricing, renovation of Hawes Field at Pleasant Park. Award contract under Bergen County contract, untreated rock salt. Award professional services contract, employee assistance program. Award professional services contract, attorney for tax exemption matters, Valley Hospital Properties. Award additional amount of contract, disposal of yard waste and grass clippings. Rescind temporary contract and award new contract, disposal of recyclable materials. Rescind resolution number 24-308 and declare property surplus, chipper truck, Parks Department. Chapter 159, 2024 budget amendment. State of New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, American Rescue Plan Firefighters Grant. Authorize execution of agreement of temporary lease of 555 North Maple Avenue. Establish 2025 dates and fees for dining corrals in the Central Business District. Appoint member to Green Ridgewood. Appoint member to Green Ridgewood student intern. Appoint member to Zoning Board of Adjustment. Award contract layout, printing, assembly, and distribution of 2025 village calendar, and appoint member to Shade Tree Commission. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mayor, before you vote, if I may, to answer Council Member Reynolds' question, it is the same contractor that we rejected bids for over the summer. I went upstairs and checked, so you knew before you voted, but it's Fred Devon's Construction. They're out of Ringwood. So they were rejected, and this bid was in order, and this one's being recommended to the
Thank
board.
you.
You're welcome.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
And I just want to take a moment to say how proud I am of this council that it has moved on this Kingsbridge Lane Bridge renovation that has lain fallow for far too long, and this is now going to get done. It's going to benefit all the communities that are serviced by it, and again, I only wish it had been done sooner, but with that, I vote yes. And with that, Lon?
We do kind of have to give Suzanne a shout out, right? Because she's been so persistent. I mean, she's going to call in
Absolutely.
now and before she gets there.
Susan, nice job. You stayed behind us, made sure that we did not let this fall by the wayside, and so thank you so much for ensuring that we didn't let this get away from us. So, absolutely right. And with that, we will return to public comment.
Hello again, Michael No, Ridgewood resident. First, I wanted to thank the IT department. Being a senior citizen, it's nice to be able to watch it during the day. You can watch the entire meeting, so I appreciate that. And I want to wish Lorraine Reynolds good luck on her retirement from the council and all the people who are running. I wanted to talk about what Mr. Loving mentioned before about the water storage tanks. I've been a resident since 1982, and the watering problem has been continual since I've been here. We're usually on water restrictions as far as back as I can remember. And I think it's an opportune time to try to get some of these neighboring towns to agree to put in some water tanks. I know nobody wants them, but it's, you know, for the greater good. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, Ann Loving, Ridgewood, New Jersey. I wanted to just echo what one of the callers said earlier. I share her concerns about what Mr. Damiano presented about the telephone tracking. It was really quite alarming to hear that they were able to track people in the park, and then how many went to the Daily Treat, and how many went to Raymond's, and how many went to Chick-fil-A, which I think is the one on 17, not the one in Paramus Park, and how many went home. How do they know my phone number, who I am, and where my home is? And when my 11-year-old grandson, who's in 6th grade, comes out and is now allowed to walk to town with a friend to get ice cream. He's being tracked. I mean, this is, we don't know anything. We didn't know anything about this. Mr. Damiano knew everything about this. Apparently, it sounds like the village manager knew something about this. It's alarming. I just wanted to echo what the previous caller earlier this evening said. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Anyone else? No, let's go to our hybrid access participants. Jim, you are first up.
Hi, good evening, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Jim Reynolds, Ridgewood resident. I'm calling this evening to wish my wife and the love of my life, Councilwoman Lorraine Reynolds, a happy anniversary. This Friday, October 11th, we will celebrate 38 years since walking down the aisle together. And even though I'm on an out-of-state project and couldn't be there in person, I didn't want to miss my last opportunity to embarrass her. So I consider myself very lucky to be in a small group of people that have married up. I mean, just look at her. She's smart, she's pretty, and most importantly, she saw potential in me. Happy anniversary. And with the mayor's permission, I would like to ask Mr. Loving to present a rose, a red rose.
He's got a surrogate. This guy is good, I've got to tell you.
He's making the rest of us look real bad.
I gave Boyd 2 roses. I would like Boyd to give the yellow rose back to his wife, Anne, because I didn't want to get him in trouble for giving a rose to Lorraine.
Mr. Loving needs no help from you to get into trouble. He does fine on his own. Thank you very much.
Thank you for indulging me, and have a good evening.
Thank you, honey. I had no idea you knew how to call in.
I didn't. It took me a long.
And thank you, Jim. And just so you know, she saw the potential in you, and I think she's still hoping that it gets fulfilled. So, and with that, we will go to Cynthia O'Keefe. Cynthia, you are up.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Cynthia.
Great. Yes. Wow. So much to say tonight. Lorraine, congratulations on your anniversary, and doing the planting with you over the weekend is always so much fun. You call and I run, and I'm always happy to squeeze that in and have such a good time. So hopefully we did you proud. We kind of rearranged your the arrangement that you gave us. So we thought we were going to get in trouble, but I hope you were happy with it in the end.
All good.
Okay, that's good. I just wanted to mention, that I did attend it was the Montclair Town Council meeting last night in person to talk about turf. They had many, many people there. I think Ridgewood has to step it up, because so many people approach me. I guess I'm like the poster child for anti-turf, obstruction to progress in that area, and happily to do so, because as Scott Muller said earlier, we want to protect our children. I don't think he was obviously talking about turf versus grass, but I think there are very many ways to make that happen, and to do sustainable, grass maintenance. There are many communities doing this. The reason I went to the Township of Montclair's council meeting was because they are set to potentially pass a moratorium on the installation of artificial turf for a number of years. I believe it's 3 on playing and recreational fields. They have a similar problem to Ridgewood. They claim that they don't have enough fields. We know that Ridgewood has 37 fields that are not always being properly maintained, to make people want to play on them. I think those are probably easy fixes. And I think we maybe want to start a subcommittee to the Fields Committee on how to make this happen, because, we should be pioneers. We have Green Ridgewood, very similar to Montclair, that has a green team. And the green team in Montclair actually put this moratorium forth. So while I love our green team, I'd love to pass this along as maybe a baton that we could also hold up to, to prove to other communities that we are worth those sustainability awards and the bronze medals and the other things we talk about, and bees and trees and all that good stuff. I think we've got to walk the talk. Pam mentioned when we were doing the vote on turf, and I'll just say this quickly, that the UN Secretary General Guterres said we are in a climate crisis. When do we begin to address that? Do we do it next year or the year after, just because it's not convenient now because the kids need playing fields? Let's come up with innovative solutions to solve our problems. And I'm happy to jump in, like you said, Paul, let's row in that boat. Everybody get off the bench and into the game. I'm happy to do that. And that would be my pleasure to contribute something like that to Ridgewood so that everyone can be happy and the kids can be healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Next up, Christina.
Christina Millian, Ridgewood resident. First, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for fixing Kingsbridge Lane. I think it's fantastic that that's finally being addressed. And I really do applaud the suggestion to give Susan a shout out because she definitely deserves it. I think her activism and dedication to helping our community is really incredible. I also just want to go back to my earlier public comments. The Ridgewood Guild confirmed they track residents and visitors, not just for an event, it was for a full year, 2023 to 2024. And when I raised concerns about the privacy and safety with our elected officials, no one answered me, except for the village manager who told me to contact Placer.ai directly. And I just don't understand why the burden of finding simple answers is being placed on residents. The Guild claimed they were contacted pro bono by a $1.5 billion company, and data was collected for a full year. Was the village co-sponsor of any of the events at the park at this time? And since the village met with Placer, you should know how they prioritize our privacy. So let me ask again, what data do they collect? Who has access to it? Do they resell it? And how do they ensure they're not capturing minors' data? We have this New Jersey data privacy law that I believe was passed in January of this year. And so does it comply with that? And lastly, COPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Those regulations are really stringent about data collection from minors, and it gives power to parents to protect their kids. And so how is this handled in our town? Because for the safety of all the residents, we need transparency on what data is collected, stored, shared, and most importantly, how to opt out of it. And so these are my questions. I think we should just be super transparent about the answers so we're all aligned. I'd like to know if you're going to be working with them. And I also want to know about Oktoberfest is this weekend, and is Placer, .ai a part of that? Because that's going to help a few of us decide if we go or not. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Christina. Susan, you're up.
Susan Ruan. I live in Ridgewood. I just want to say thank you for approving the footbridge. I know I've been a sore talking about it a lot, so I'm just happy it's being approved. And I'll be honest, I'll be happy when it's actually fixed. I want to say happy anniversary to Lorraine. I should have begun with that. Happy anniversary. Also, I want to just piggyback off of Christine's. I know we're being tracked everywhere, and I'm not a fool to not think that you go someplace your phone isn't, you're just being tracked on the internet where you go. I heard the thing last week, and I was uncomfortable with it. I'm glad Christine, who is more knowledgeable about all this stuff, is bringing up the points, because it's even though we are being tracked, Big Brother knows what we're doing, it doesn't mean that we need to bring it back down to Ridgewood to do it. And that was pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan, and I'm considering a motion for naming rights for the bridge too. But we'll discuss that at a future meeting. We have some time on that. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment. Would anyone like to respond to any of the comments made tonight?
Very quickly, Mayor, to Mr. No, he's back there. With regard to the water distribution issues, just to give you a little history that I've learned since I've been here. So prior to the consent order that required Ridgewood Water to undertake all of the PFAS treatment facilities that are currently being built, somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 million worth of PFAS investment, the Ridgewood Water was at that point considering significant upgrades to the distribution system. And one of the challenges that we have, especially in the area that was discussed tonight up in Midland Park, bordering Wyckoff and Ridgewood, is the ability to purchase water from other locations. For example, Veolia, Passaic Valley Water Commission, Hawthorne Water, and being able to move that water up to that intermediate zone, which is primarily in Midland Park. This temporary solution that Mr. Calby discussed tonight will abate that for a short period of time, approximately 2 or 3 years, and I'm just throwing out numbers, but that's what we estimate it to last, until we can come in with a greater distribution plan post-PFAS that'll allow us to move water around the system. That's the challenge, and then what happens is when we get into lawn irrigation system, it really taxes the entire distribution system throughout the 4 service area towns, and that's the next challenge that Ridgewood Water is going to have to take on. But I think Rich and his team over at the Water Department know this. They know that this needs to be the next priority on their to-do list. So I hope that explains a little bit more and puts into context what we're dealing with over there. To Ms. Loving, maybe you misheard me earlier tonight, but I actually said that I wasn't aware that the Guild was using Placer until they made the presentation, and they asked us to meet with them, which was essentially a sales pitch. I don't necessarily see a reason for the village to utilize their services. I can understand, you know, as Susan said to Christina, we're all being tracked in some shape or form. I think that's a little unsettling for all of us. But we listened to the sales pitch. I think we generally decided that it didn't have a use for the village per se. Whether or not these commerce groups, the chamber, the guild, whomever else, have use for this type of system and for this type of tracking system in the course of what they do for the village, you know, that's going to be something that's up to them. But I just want to stress, based on all the comments that were made about this tonight, that this is not a Village of Ridgewood specific problem. What I would be interested in, and it's sort of sparked my thought tonight, is, you know, does the League of Municipalities come out with some sort of guidelines on this type of business operating in individual municipalities? And at some point in the future, will any of this be governed by ordinance? I don't know the answer to that. It's sort of the first time I've thought about it was in the last couple of hours. But I think that is something that as we talk to the League of Municipalities, we should see if there is any type of legislation that's being proposed to monitor this type of business that's operating here.
And I think that's very well said, Keith. I mean, we have no involvement in this, no familiarity with it.
And no ability to regulate.
And
I
no
think
ability.
that's the most
yeah,
important thing.
And that's the thing. We have no ability to regulate it. And so there's no sponsorship by the village. There's no involvement. And again, I think that your proposed path, which is discussing this with the League of Municipalities, perhaps even at the conference next month, would be a good first step to see if there's anything we can or should do about it.
Right. And this, you know, from what I've read about this, this is heavily used in the real estate field too. So, you know, again, this is all about how is this regulated prospectively. And even if Ridgewood was to decide to regulate it, you know, the towns around us may not. And how does that work when we're knowing that someone goes to Chick-fil-A on Route 17 after they leave Van Ness Square? I mean,
Right.
that's really what we're dealing with here. So.
Yep.
And then lastly, I just want to shout out Jim Reynolds. Steph and I were at Lorraine and Jim's on Sunday, and he said he was going to do this. Steph actually asked me this afternoon. She said, "Let me know if he does it." And when I walked in tonight, he wasn't here, but you know, the voice of God was able to wish you a happy anniversary, Lorraine. So happy anniversary to both of you.
With regard to AI, I may be using the wrong term here, but my understanding is that the data that they pick up is depersonalized. So they don't know which person, who they are, or anything like that. They're just tracking the path. But actually, that doesn't give me much solace. I think they're still watching us very carefully.
And of course, they're not the only ones.
I did want to say that last year we did, Pam and I, the League of Municipalities had a Place for AI workshop, and Pam and I went to it. And there is no regulation, but the league was actually sponsoring the brand Place for AI. That's the first place I heard about it. So I haven't gotten the list of it, but it was there. It was in Atlantic City, and it really, it was very much a sales pitch. I do agree. I can't see the municipality paying any money for this because we don't sell anything. We have no interest in that. It wouldn't be used for anything that would fit in us. But if the Chamber of the Guild were interested, that would be an interesting application for their business ventures, but not for us.
Anybody else? Let's call it a night. Motion for adjournment.
Second.
No, I don't make it. I'm
Say
asking
so
for-
moved.
So
Thank
moved,
you.
second. Evan?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Yeah, it was on the thing. Yeah.
Did he say 38 years?
38? She was 12.